Ladies and gentlemen, success, like the great oak tree, begins with a single acorn, an idea, a belief, a definiteness of purpose. And today, I invite you to plant one of the most powerful seeds you will ever, carrying the belief that everything, yes, everything, is always working out in your favor. Now, you may ask, how can I believe that when storms rage, when doors close, when doubt creeps in? My friends, the answer lies in the timeless principle that has lifted the greatest men and women to heights once thought unreachable. Act as if the outcome is already guaranteed. Act with faith, not blind hope, but faith backed by action. Speak with the voice of certainty. Walk with the confidence of one who knows the universe is conspiring for their success. Because when you act as if everything always works out, you summon the very forces that make it so. You are not here by accident. You are not struggling without reason. You are being shaped, molded, prepared for greatness. And once you decide to see your life through that lens, nothing will ever be the same. Definiteness of belief creates definiteness of outcome. This principle stands as one of the most powerful truths in the realm of personal achievement and success. When an individual possesses an unwavering belief in a desired outcome, that belief begins to shape their thoughts, direct their actions, and ultimately define their reality. It is not merely about wishing for success. It is about you knowing with absolute certainty that success is not only possible but inevitable. This state of inner conviction ignites a kind of mental magnetism, drawing the necessary people, circumstances, and opportunities into one's path. The human mind is a goal-seeking mechanism. It operates best when it has clear instructions, and those instructions are delivered through belief. When you believe in an outcome with definiteness, your mind no longer entertains the distractions of doubt or fear. Instead, it begins to scan your environment for confirmations of your belief. You begin to notice pathways, make choices, and seize opportunities that align with your conviction. This is not magic. It is mental discipline in action. It is the application of thought as a creative force. Those who succeed consistently are not those who have never failed, but those who believed in their success regardless of temporary defeat. Definiteness of belief gives you emotional and psychological stamina. It allows you to persist through the valleys because you've already seen the view from the summit in your mind's eye. You carry that vision as if were already yours. And because the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined belief and actual reality, it begins to orchestrate your behavior and external environment to match the internal picture. It's easy to act with confidence when everything is going your way, but the true test and true power of belief is found when nothing seems to be working. This is where deafness separates dreamers from doers. The one with a fixed belief in success keeps moving forward, while others turn back. The inner certainty becomes a compass that does not waver regardless of the storm. People sense this energy. They are drawn to it. Leaders are made not by what they know, but by what they believe, and how clearly they believe it. A person who believes that everything always works out begins to walk, speak, and decide with clarity and boldness. They do not wait for proof. They become the proof. Their actions are not based on reactions to the present, but on loyalty to a future they have already claimed. They move through life as though what they want is already on its way. And this movement, this mindset, begins to attract the very conditions they once only imagined. Thoughts become reality. Act accordingly. This concept is the cornerstone of all personal transformation. The dominating thoughts that occupy your mind do not remain contained within the boundaries of your imagination. They shape your words, influence your behavior, and dictate the direction of your life. Every achievement, every failure, every turning point you have experienced began with a thought, either nourished or neglected, either empowered or dismissed. When you recognize that thought is the origin of everything you experience, you begin to treat your inner world with the seriousness and discipline it demands. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner conversation. What you repeatedly think about yourself, your life, your future. Those thoughts accumulate and solidify into belief. And belief is the blueprint from which you build your results. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, or limitation, then your actions will carry hesitation, and the world will respond in kind. But if your thoughts are anchored in clarity, faith, and boldness, then your actions will follow with precision and confidence. The quality of your life is, and always will be, equal to the quality of your thoughts. Most people react to their environment, but those who rise above average create their environment through the deliberate use of thought. When you act accordingly, that is, when you behave as if your thoughts are guaranteed to manifest, You begin to operate with purpose and power. You do not speak carelessly because you know your words give form to your thinking. You do not indulge in worry because you understand it plants seeds of the very outcomes you wish to avoid. You do not procrastinate because you believe your goals are already in motion, and time becomes a resource you steward wisely. The power of acting in alignment with your desired reality is not simply motivational. It is transformational. You no longer wait for external proof before taking action. Instead, your faith in your vision drives you to move, speak, and plan as if it were already done. This mindset creates momentum. It invites synchronicities. It shifts your energy, which in turn shifts the way others respond to you. You stop asking for permission to succeed because your thoughts already confirm that success is yours. You become proactive instead of reactive, guided by the certainty of your internal direction rather than the uncertainty of external conditions. When you understand that thoughts are not passive, but active forces, you begin to treat your imagination as sacred territory. You become the guardian of what enters and stays in your mind. You discipline yourself to feed your consciousness with visions of what you want, not with memories of what went wrong. You begin to think intentionally, because you know every thought is a step taken toward your future. What you hold in mind eventually shows up in form. And once this principle is accepted not just intellectually but emotionally, you move through the world with a new kind of responsibility, because you know that your reality bends to the patterns of your thinking. Faith is the catalyst of all success. It is the invisible force that turns potential into reality, transforms dreams into achievements, and lifts ordinary men and women into extraordinary lives. Without faith, no plan is bold enough, no vision is strong enough, and no action is sustainable enough to bring lasting results. Faith is not mere hope or wishful thinking. It is the unshakable conviction that what you desire is not only possible but certain, and that every step you take toward it is divinely supported and purposefully guided. Every great invention, every towering achievement, every life-changing movement has been born from an individual who had faith long before they had results. They saw something others couldn't see. They believed in outcomes that logic couldn't yet justify. They stood firm in moments when circumstances whispered failure, because faith allowed them to hear a louder truth within. That inner truth, the conviction that they were meant to succeed, became the power source behind every action they took. Faith gave their effort meaning. It gave their setbacks context. It gave their perseverance fuel. When a person operates with faith, they are no longer confined by the limitations of the present moment. They are connected to a future reality so deeply that it begins to shape their identity. They act as if success is not optional. It's inevitable. And because the mind always aligns with its dominant belief, faith begins to instruct the subconscious to seek out paths, people, and patterns that support the vision. Faith trains the mind to filter out distractions and focus only on that which contributes to the goal. It becomes a compass, pointing you forward when doubt tries to drag you backward. Most people wait to believe until they see evidence, but the ones who change the world believe first, and that belief becomes the evidence. Faith is the builder behind every enduring result. It removes hesitation. It removes fear. It allows you to take bold action when others are still stuck in analysis. When you truly believe that you cannot fail, you show up differently. Your energy shifts. Your words carry more weight. Your posture reflects conviction. And people, consciously or not, begin to respond to you in a different way. Doors open. Opportunities align. Momentum builds. Not because of chance, but because you aligned yourself with a greater force than logic can measure. Faith is what allows you to commit fully. It silences the internal voice that says, "What if it doesn't work?" and replaces it with a stronger question. What if it already is working? It changes your relationship with risk, because you begin to see risk not as danger, but as the necessary bridge between where you are and where you are going. You begin to see obstacles not as problems, but as part of the process that is shaping you to receive what you asked for. Faith is the spark that ignites persistence, the fuel behind discipline, and the unwavering fire that keeps burning long after motivation fades. Your mind responds to the reality you assume. This truth is not abstract philosophy. It is a principle that governs the way your brain processes information, the way your body reacts, and ultimately the way your life unfolds. When you assume something to be real, your mind begins to operate as if it already exists. It begins to filter your perceptions, decisions, and reactions through the lens of that assumption. Whether you assume success or failure, abundance or lack, strength or weakness, your mind will work to confirm that assumption with remarkable precision and consistency. The human brain is wired to seek congruence between belief and experience. When you believe something with enough intensity, your subconscious will begin scanning for evidence to support it. It's not because the world has changed, but because you've instructed your mind to prioritize that version of reality. This is why people who assume that everything works out for them tend to move through life with more confidence, attract more solutions, and bounce back more quickly from setbacks. They are not delusional. They are intentional. They understand that reality begins in the mind before it manifests in the world. Assumptions are powerful because they shape your internal narrative. And your internal narrative determines how you interpret every situation you face. Two people can experience the same challenge. One sees a wall, the other sees a door. The difference is not the circumstance, but the assumed reality. One assumes defeat and stops trying. The other assumes growth and keeps going. What you assume to be true creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. You speak, behave, and decide based on what you believe is already real. And over time, your actions begin to make it so. This is not about pretending. It is about training your mind to adopt a perspective that empowers you. It is about choosing the version of reality that serves your growth and acting in alignment with that version. When you assume success, you take the steps that lead to success. When you assume failure, you hesitate, sabotage, or settle for less. Your assumption becomes the atmosphere in which your choices are made, and those choices repeated over time shape the direction of your life. Children do this naturally. They assume they can be astronauts, artists, superheroes without needing proof. That childlike certainty gives them freedom to dream and the courage to try. Somewhere along the way, many people replace that certainty with skepticism. They begin to assume limitations instead of possibilities. But that assumption is also a choice. And just as it was learned, it can be unlearned. You can retrain your mind to expect the best, to lean into faith instead of fear, to default to opportunity rather than obstacle. What you assume, you prepare for. If you assume that everything is working out for you, your body relaxes, your mind opens, and your creativity flows. If you assume the worst, your body tightens, your focus narrows, and you miss what could have helped you. The assumption becomes the signal your nervous system responds to, the cue your brain follows when deciding whether to fight. Flee, freeze, or rise. Adversity is temporary. Persistence is eternal. Every person who has achieved anything of significance has walked through hardship, rejection, and moments of deep uncertainty. These challenges are not signs to quit. They are the proving grounds of purpose. Adversity may slow you down, but it does not have the power to stop you unless you let it. It is temporary by nature. It may feel heavy. It may last longer than expected, but it is not permanent. What is permanent is the strength and wisdom you develop when you choose to persist through it. Persistence is not merely continuing to do something for the sake of routine. It is the conscious decision to keep moving toward your vision even when results are not immediate. It is rooted in belief, fueled by purpose, and refined by every obstacle faced. Those who persist are not those with perfect circumstances. They are the ones who refuse to let circumstances define their outcome. They understand that adversity is a part of the journey, not a sign that the journey should end. It is a chapter, not the conclusion. Life will test your resolve. It will ask again and again, how badly do you want it? And with every test, you have the opportunity to affirm your answer through action. Temporary defeat is not failure. It is feedback. It shows you what to adjust, what to strengthen, and what to let go. But it never tells you to abandon your mission. Only you can make that call. And when your persistence is stronger than your desire for comfort, you become unstoppable. Adversity introduces you to your own potential. It forces you to dig deeper than you thought you could. It burns away the superficial and reveals what truly matters. In the midst of struggle, you discover new reserves of focus, creativity, and resilience. These are qualities that cannot be taught in comfort. They are only forget through effort and endurance. And once you've found them within yourself, no challenge can take them away. Persistence turns adversity into momentum. Every time you push through a difficulty instead of running from it, you gain energy. You gain confidence. You gain the internal proof that says, I've made it through worse, and I'm still here. That inner knowing becomes a powerful force that you carry into every new challenge. Others may see obstacles, but you've trained your mind to see possibilities beyond them. Where others stop, you keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. History remembers those who didn't give up, Every breakthrough, every innovation, every great story of transformation carries with it a trail of struggles and setbacks. The common thread is not talent, luck, or timing. It is relentless, focused persistence, the refusal to allow adversity to have the final say, the understanding that storms pass, but the decision to continue leaves a legacy that lasts. You become someone who not only reaches your goal, but becomes the kind of person who earns it through endurance and determination that no hardship can erase. Success begins the moment you decide it's inevitable. Not when the opportunity arrives, not when the conditions are perfect, and not when someone else gives you permission. It begins the instant you choose, with absolute conviction, that success is no longer a possibility to chase, but a certainty you live by. That decision shifts everything. It realigns your focus, redefines your standards, and reprograms your actions. Your mind stops asking if and starts planning for when. You no longer wait for external validation. You operate from internal assurance. When you make success inevitable in your mind, your behavior starts to reflect that decision. You prepare differently. You speak differently. You treat time and energy as sacred resources because you understand that every moment counts toward the outcome you have already claimed. You begin to surround yourself with people, environments, and habits that support that future. You no longer entertain distractions that don't align. This inner shift brings clarity, and clarity accelerates progress. The universe responds to the energy of decisiveness far more than it does to hesitation. There is power in deciding. Most people dabble in their goals. They try things, they test waters, but they never commit fully. That lack of commitment sends a weak signal to the mind, and as a result, the actions taken are inconsistent and unfocused. But once you decide that your success is non-negotiable, your brain begins to organize your life around that outcome. The subconscious mind starts to filter out doubt and amplify belief. You train yourself to see obstacles not as threats, but as part of the journey toward the success you've already claimed internally. Deciding that success is inevitable does not mean the path will be smooth or easy. It means you've already ruled out the option of quitting. It means your faith is fixed and your actions are aligned. You carry yourself with the posture of someone who knows where they are going. You operate with quiet confidence, not because the road is guaranteed to be easy, but because the destination is guaranteed by your own resolve. The world begins to treat you differently because energy does not lie. People sense when you've made a true decision, and opportunities tend to show up in response. This mindset removes the emotional roller coaster of waiting for results to justify your belief. You stop measuring your potential based on temporary conditions. You stop needing external proof before you move forward. You act as if the outcome is already yours, and in doing so, you begin to pull that outcome toward you faster. You start to live in alignment with the version of yourself who has already succeeded. Every word, every thought, every step reflects that higher version of you. This is how inner reality begins to shape outer reality, not by force, but by alignment. Success responds to certainty. When you commit with full belief, you tap into a different level of creativity and resourcefulness. You are no longer driven by fear of failure, but by a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken